we have to do this because stickers make you go fast, and we're gonna go fast. I have the fastest toolbox on the East Coast because Gearhead 704 said so. Beautiful. What's going on, and welcome back. So today we are back out in the shop. It's time for more modifications on Project Stepchild. As you can see, I've already jacked the car up and removed the wheels in the back, and I'm happy to report that there is no new grease coming from the DSS half shafts. Thank God. No new grease. That is awesome. I am extremely happy about that because those that have been following me know that I've had nothing but troubles with the grease coming out. So apparently the third attempt to fix the leaking grease was a success. So now we can move forward. Now, where I left off last video was the seasoning of the Bmr drag brakes. Now, I have already done the bedding process. It's really just more braking. Basically, it's more intense to really get the pads to create a pattern with the rotor. But that is complete. I didn't film it because I didn't want to bore you guys with more braking. So today is rear suspension day. I don't know how far I'm gonna get. I may do each piece or each set, whatever you want to call it. I may do individual videos. I may incorporate some together. It just depends on how long it takes me. Hopefully some of the stuff won't take that long. It shouldn't be too bad, but you know, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully I'll have good luck with the install of the stuff. I'm out here by myself, so you know, it may take a little longer than usual if I were to have a little bit of help. But anyway, let me turn the camera around. Let me show you what we've got today to go on the car. We've got a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff to cover. So here we go. These are the parts that we have. We have got the Steeda adjustable camber links for the rear. These things are no joke, man. These things are beefy. It's no wonder they're not cheap. I mean, these things are actually pretty big. I mean, you can see my hand, they're pretty big. But we've got these to go on. The plan is just to make them the same length as the ones that I have on there. I may have to measure like where they sit or mark where they sit. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about these because once I remove the stock ones, it may, and even though I make these the same length as the stock ones, the camber may still be off on the rear. So I want to try to keep it at least where it's at right now so I can drive the car. I still don't have all the braking miles of the transmission, but I have ordered the fluid. Once the fluid comes in, I think I'm going to change it and call it a day. I do have probably about 350 miles braking on the transmission. I think it's ready. So, but anyway, so we'll see how this goes when we get there, and see what I got to do to try to keep everything as it is now. And then we've got the Viking Crusader shocks. They're double adjustable, and everybody says this is what you need for drag racing. They're really not for a lot of street use. You can run them on the street. There are certain settings that Viking requires that you set these at to drive them on the street, but they're really not made for the street. They're made for track use. So we'll see how that goes. I know a lot of people do run them on the street, but this is a street strip car, so we will be running on the street some, but we'll have to check our settings and make sure our settings are set right so we don't have any issues driving on the street with these shocks. But those are going in. These are the J&M adjustable toe links for the rear. Now, I went with J&M. I actually bought these during the holidays. They were on sale, so I bought these along with the vertical links, which I've already installed those. I do have a video on that. You can check that video out if you haven't already. But these should be fairly easy to install. Just take the stock ones, you know, line them up, make sure they're the same length, set these to the same length as stock, put them in, and should be good to go. So we got those. Then we've got the Differential Bushing Kit from Bmr. And these are the polyurethane bushings, which is going to solidly mount the differential housing to the cradle. So hopefully we won't get any movement of the differential during our passes at the drag strip. Now this probably will add some NVH. If I had to guess, all this stuff will probably add some NVH. I don't care. We need this car to perform on the drag strip, and it needs to run the best that it can, so these are the parts that we're going to need. Now these are the Bmr Shock Mounts for the rear. The way these are set up is it raises the actual mounting point of the shock, of the shaft of the shock, so that it accommodates for a lowered car. Now mine, it has the performance springs on it, the Bmr performance springs, and it's lowered, I want to say 3/4 inch or so. But these will handle up to a 2-inch drop. Basically what it's going to allow is full stroke of the shock by moving the shaft connection point higher up. Typically it would be like down here, so it moves it up so you can get full travel of the shock shaft. But that's what we've got going on today. I don't want to talk about it too much more because I don't want to make this a super long video, but that's what we've got going on. That's what we're going to try to get done today. If not today, I definitely want to be finished with all that stuff tomorrow. I do also have camber plates for the front, but I'm not going to mess with those. I need to find a good spring compressor to install those, because you got to remove the spring, or not really remove the spring, but you've got to remove the top mount or whatever you want to call it for the spring to put the camber plates in place. So I do need to find a good compressor for that. Probably look on Harbor Freight. I believe they have one. But anyway, let's get busy on this car. We've got a ton of stuff to do. No time to waste. Alright, so as you can see, I started with the Viking shocks and the Bmr Shock Mounts. Now I wanted to cover a few things with this. I didn't want to do it as I was working on it because it's kind of a pain in the butt to stop what you're doing to film and all that good stuff. So I figured I would get one side done and then kind of just explain what I did. As far as the installation of the shock, they come with new bolts, nuts, and washers. I see a lot of people running the bolt actually from underneath and coming up. Now the stock one does that, but you really have no choice because the bottom of the shock is threaded, so you come up from underneath. But just in case, you know, these came loose, I would want the nut to fall up and still have that bolt through the hole to, you know, possibly just help hold the shock in. You know, if you came up from the bottom, if it came loose or whatever and the bolts fell out, then you got nothing holding the shock in there. So I don't know, just the way I prefer to do it. I see a lot of people still running the bolts up and the nuts on top, but I prefer to do it the other way. But that's just me. So anyway, they're bolted down there, and I did want to explain the boot. Now this is the boot that's on the stock shock, as well as the bump stop. Now these bump stops, I've already cut them down because I do have the Bmr springs. Now to get this bump stop off, I didn't want to force it over. There's a little collar on the stock shock. To get this over top of it would take a lot of effort and may tear up the bump stop. So what I did is I basically pressed the collar off, put the shock shaft in the vise. I didn't tighten it down on the shaft, so don't worry about that, but I put it so that the vise, it would catch the collar and basically just tap the shaft down, and the collar came off, and I was able to easily remove the bump stop. So on the new Vikings, there is a, I don't know if you can see it, but there is a snap ring in there. There's an O-ring and a snap ring. The O-ring goes on first. Well, once you put the bump stop on, then the O-ring goes on the shaft. Then you have to put the snap ring back on. That goes into a groove on the shaft. Then for the Bmr mounts, it calls for this spacer washer. Then you tighten the lock nut down to the washer, and then you tighten the rod end down to the lock nut. Now up here, it's basically just the rod end. You've got an O-ring on either side that helps with NVH, they say. I'm not exactly sure how it does, but they say that helps with NVH. And then you got a spacer on either side and nut and bolt going through there. This has a nylon insert, so it's a lock nut. The nuts down there, they have a nylon insert, so they are lock nuts. But these are the bolts that come with the Bmr mounts. Those I put Loctite on, as you saw, because the factory bolts use Loctite, so I don't want those backing out. You definitely don't want those backing out. That would be bad. But I did use Loctite on there. It doesn't take a whole lot. You don't have to put a whole lot of Loctite on there. A little bit goes a long way. But so that's what I did. Now there are certain settings for the shock for off-track use, is what they call it. I'd set it up for, I believe, two on the compression and 4 on the rebound. You know, I can always change that up. I'm gonna do some more research on that, see what people are setting them at on the street just for kind of driving around, because you don't want to mess up these shocks. They're not the cheapest thing out there. But that's it. It's gonna be kind of a pain in the butt to adjust these. If you can see the adjustment knobs down there, it's gonna be kind of a pain to get in there to adjust those. Like say you want to make an adjustment at the track, that would be kind of a pain. You got to jack the car up and somehow get your hand in there and adjust those. That doesn't look like fun at all. But there's the passenger side. It wasn't too bad, really. It wasn't bad. Took a little while, but I don't know, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm out here by myself, and you know, I'm not in a hurry. I'm kind of taking my time. I do want to get this stuff done this weekend. but I don't want to get into a rush either. I want to make sure I do it right and make sure everything is good to go. So we do have clearance here. It looks like there's almost no clearance here, but there is clearance. The upper mount is kind of at an angle, so it's kind of angled here. I was kind of worried about that at first, but then noticed it was at an angle, so we are good to go there. But that is the Viking Shock on the passenger side. I'm not going to film the driver's side. It's pretty much the same thing. But I think that's going to do it for this video. Like I was saying, you know, I probably will break them up into different videos, because I don't want, you know, a 30-minute video on all this and bore you guys. So I'm gonna break it up into different videos. I think it'll be better that way. That way I'm not taking up too much of your time, and you'll be able to sit through a video and enjoy it. But that's it. That's gonna wrap this one up for the Viking Shocks and the Bmr upper shock mounts. Gonna work on the driver's side, get that done, and we'll be good to go with that, and then move on to something else. So stay tuned for more of the rear suspension. And again, we're making progress. As long as we're making progress, you know, we are succeeding. I know I'm not going as fast as I want to go, because I really want to get to the track. It's killing me, you know, seeing all these other guys going to the track. I mean, it's starting to warm up, and I don't know, I'm just, I want to get to the track. But anyway, stay tuned for more of the suspension. Hope you liked this video. If you did, hit a like button. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and we'll see you on the next one.